are you?
Oh, thank you. No, y'all. Look, he's
Gentlemen.
No, only when there's other eyes watching.
Only when the camera's rolling.
That's right, only when cameras
Don't
are
let
on.
him fool you. Just kidding. He is a nice guy.
It seems like it.
Yeah.
Winchester Family Business.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Question for you both. As you created the story of John and Mary, a lot of ideas had to go through your head of what a backstory might be or a spinoff might be of Supernatural. What was the tipping point that made you decide to go with the John and Mary backstory?
It's kind of an easy question, though, because in our minds, not your question. Your question is difficult. But remember when you said, we were just kind of, I for one, will go on the record and say Wayward Sisters is amazing.
Should have been picked up.
Really amazing.
Should have
Should have been picked up. Moving on from that, you were like, you were thinking of like what characters
Trying
would
to break
you
that
wanna
down.
watch?
Well, also going back to Wayward Sisters, trying to break down why that, what was it that maybe prevented that from turning into a series, and the, one thing that I talked to her about it. We were discussing it one night over dinner, and I was like, maybe it was because it wasn't a character that was part of the core story. And if you were going to spin off Supernatural,
You said it wasn't a Winchester.
it was, and I said it
And
because I was like, maybe because of there wasn't a Winchester involved. I thought we talked about what it would look like to spin Castiel's character off and have his garrison of angels in heaven, and maybe that was. And I said, I think it's got to have a Winchester. I think that. Thank you so much.
Also a great idea.
And she was like, well, what about? She was like, well, what other Winchesters? I'm like, well, there's Dad and Mom. And she's like, well, then go back into the 70s and tell that story. And I was like, oh my God, you're right. That's what we do. We've got touchstones that have been laid out in the mothership that are lore. Maybe we could hit those markers in a way that isn't expected. Maybe we could, and that's something that's a holdover from Kim Manners from the original, first 3 seasons. He was like, always give them something they expect in a way they don't expect it. And we're like, if we could tell that story in a way that might go, then I think we got, as opposed to just lining up and just filling in the blanks in what I'm sure we've all probably done, fill in those blanks a little differently and tell that story just slightly different, skew it a bit to where it actually becomes a supernatural type story. And so
Enter Robbie Thompson,
enter the studio, and everybody, and she and I also just went straight to the top. We went straight to the president of Warner Brothers and straight to the president of CW. And we were like, hey guys, what do you think of this? And both of them were like, we love it. Now go through the proper channels and get this developed. And so that's when we were like, right. So yeah.
So with you guys acting as producers on this, what's that process like? How involved are you guys in sort of day-to-day decisions? Tell us a little bit about your roles and working together. I mean, married couples working together seems like it could be interesting.
Well, I just said over there.
We do a lot of it.
Yeah, we work together anyway. We've got 3
we have
kids.
a brewery, we have 3 kids.
Couple of companies.
Yeah.
We're doing right now what we generally do in the kitchen. So we're just producing and talking about, and
we make our kids interview us.
They're brutal.
It's been fun.
It has really just been an extension of what we do at home, and that's to put it the simplest way.
I read all the scripts.
She brings me in. No, the interesting thing, and I'll tell you a quick story. So I in working with Kripke on Boys, I asked him, because we were kind of in the throes of getting this up and running. I asked him, I was like, so Seth Rogen, like what is his role in this whole thing? Because he's a producer on The Boys. And he's like, Seth's role is, if the train starts going off the tracks, we throw him in front of it. And I'm like, I want to be that guy. But so I certainly tend to be more that, but I also, hey honey, what do you need? But I tend to also be heavily involved with wanting to check, because this is a story that is very important to me. Some of the other stuff we're developing, I can hang on in the wings a little bit, but this one's really special to us, and this is one that we take a lot of great care with. So
day to day is we're obviously reading all the scripts, reading all the arenas, the outlines. Robbie is a genius, so we're lucky. We never have to give any notes because he's perfection.
He sends us the story arenas. We look at them, we check it off, then it goes up to the studio.
We're very involved in the casting, which was just an incredible process. And terrifying as an actor to watch that, because you're like, how did I ever get cast for anything?
I've seen things I wish I could unsee.
Right, yes, that.
I've heard conversations I wish I could unhear. But that's the industry, and we're happy to be there. We're happy to be in these seats because I feel like it gives us certainly greater control of where this ship goes, but it also helps us with the narrative of what it is. Can we do one more? We're long-winded. We're actors.
Can you talk about casting Drake and Meg? How did you know that they were, the right ones to play these parts? What was that like? I mean, you talked a little bit
Look
about
at
the
them.
process.
I mean,
Hello.
yeah.
I will say that Drake was. We saw Drake before we saw Meg, and he was instantly everybody's favorite. And
He's like a Jared Jensen hybrid.
Even
it's
watching him on
just-
camera, it's like he's doing both Sam and Dean, and it's like,
Wow.
what? Oh, I don't think it's any. We have a. I don't know if I'm supposed to tell you. But
You
we
can spoil things. Robbie said it was fine.
Well, we have a director that's directing an episode right now. I don't know if I'm supposed to say who that
No.
is, because he's part of the Supernatural family. But he was
There's
saying,
so many that direct. Let's see. Got it.
well, he was saying, he's like, it's bizarre because Drake does things that are very Jared-like, not even Sam-like, but like just little quirks and nuances. And so it was really kind of a no-brainer when Drake came about. And Meg was finding Meg was a little more difficult. There were a lot of Marys.
Finding Mary was a little bit more difficult.
Mary,
When Meg came on the screen, we were both just like, because we watched zombies every day in our house
Because of
during
that little
COVID.
girl that just came in here.
Right.
We knew Meg's work very
You know
well.
how kids are, they're like, it's just going on all day. So it's just like the whole movie's
on
going
repeat.
on. We know all the songs. She walks in and we're like, okay, we need to watch this with like a thoughtful eye. Because I was like, cast her, let's cast her.
Yeah, get her. She's available. What? Get her.
But then she started to read and we were like, wow.
And it was also, there was other great candidates, but it really, when we started doing chemistry reads, they were great when they were reading the scene together. But when the scene was over, and we put our cameras on mute, and we're texting notes, it was the chemistry that they had when the cameras weren't rolling.
Yeah, the Meg and Drake show. It's adorable.
That Robbie and Danneel and I were like, well, let's just send that in. That's it. So trying to capture that essence, which I believe we're doing, is the magic, and that goes back to something Kripke said to me the second episode of Supernatural, which is like the show begins and ends with you two and the relationship that you have on screen and the relationship you have off screen.
Yeah. And I mean, like, casting Netta Lathika was, it's sort of with this cast, the first person that auditioned that we loved, it always stayed that way. I mean, she was it. JoJo, who I don't know if anyone's gotten a chance to meet, they're a star. Instantly a star. Have you seen the show yet?
No.
Star. I mean, just a star.
In the panel.
JoJo's gonna pop.
In the screening.
Yeah, good.
Amazing.
Good. We hope you, and that's
And that's
a
just
character
like a little
from
bit, you know,
Robbie's
'cause-
brain.
Yes.
You could see it on the trailers, like
Which-
pure Robbie.
Yeah.
It's pure Robbie. It's
Yeah.
Robbie unleashed, which that's all we can hope for. Just
Yeah.
keep going. Just push him that way. Yeah. Thank you guys.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
both.
What's that?
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Thanks. Love it. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks for being here, guys.
Oh my gosh.
Super excited.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So I have a little something cooking on that too.
Oh, I can't wait.